What do you get when you bring three incredible female entrepreneurs together in one room? All passionate, some say obsessed, about the vital ingredient in any business sector, which is ultimately the difference that really makes the difference to any customer's experience, and is the one and only USP in any organisation that ensures that organisation shows up and stands out from others in its field. Well, you get what's about to follow. Marie Cross, fondly known as UK's Queen of Customer Service, who's been wholly focused on developing the talent of frontline sales and service teams across the spectrum of industry for over 45 years. Adrianne Carter, body language expert extraordinaire, TEDx speaker and international communications trainer. And Julie Wren, global wellbeing advocate, nutritional therapist, health coach and spa educator, offering transformative wellbeing solutions to the hospitality and wellness industry. All ladies are gathered for a series of conversations over the next 6 weeks, which focus on that vital ingredient in an organisation's recipe for success, and looks at what it takes for that vital ingredient to show up and stand out on your behalf as a brand ambassador of your business, to guarantee that you become, as Seth Godin would say, the purple cow in your field. And with over 120 years experience and expertise between the three of them about what makes for a true brand ambassador, they'll share the intrinsic link to success between happy employees, happy customers, or guests or clients, which undeniably results in a happier, financially healthier business. As we'll find out from some of the fascinating facts and stats that they'll be sharing with us during this podcast series. So, I feel sure we're all going to be in for a very high, full-on, high-energy, thought-provoking and stimulating conversation over the next 6 weeks, so let's get started. Welcome, ladies. I hope I've done you proud in my introductions to each of you. I guess the one thing that you three really have in common is your unwavering commitment to developing the potential of every brand ambassador who's representing your client's brand on the front line, in order to not only enhance the customer or guest experience, but also enhance employee engagement and therefore increase business success. Albeit you're all coming at it from very different perspectives, I get that, although your clients all operate within the service environment, right? So let's start with question number one then. What makes for a great brand ambassador with the clients that you work with?
Can I start?
Yes.
Yeah, I think that actually there's probably something that needs to happen before we answer that question, which is thinking about how you are recruiting in the first instance. That whole recruitment selection process, you need to actually have identified what is a brand ambassador, what are those qualities, those traits, those attitudes, those attributes that individual has, that you want to see living and breathing through the conversations that they are having with your customers. So I think it starts right from recruitment.
I think from a body language and a visual perspective, particularly face-to-face and in person, we want people who are authentic, who are warm, open body language, people that they can trust. As you're walking towards, as a guest or a client, towards a brand ambassador, you've made a decision about who you think they are and whether you can trust them, whether you can like them. So I think training and helping people to show their best selves and optimise their own body language is a really important part of that.
Massive. And of course that's a massive challenge when you operate in the sector that most of my clients operate in, which is where they don't have that visual element of their communication, where they're needing to ensure that in those critical first 4 to 14 seconds over the telephone, unlike when we're face to face, that what they say in those critical few seconds and how they say it, and that does come down to, a good brand ambassador will have great tonality and inflection and positivity in their sound, as well as using, the right language, positive language that paints word pictures. Whether it's face to face or whether it's virtual or over the telephone, those traits are just so. I think it is definitely around that whole recruit for will and train for skill. I think it's for sure.
Adrianne, wouldn't you also say as well that when you're on the phone, that even your facial expressions can actually change the way that you come through?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Because I know that in my industry, obviously, which is hospitality, that that smile is the first thing that people are going to see when they walk through the door. That they're greeted by the doorman, for example.
Yeah.
And I always find there that we sometimes are not always aware of how we're looking.
Yes.
We've either got that fake smile or we've got that I'm having a bad day kind of thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
But for me personally, I think as well that in hospitality, one of the things I think is really important to consider is that you're not delivering service, you're actually creating experiences.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that whole experiential moment is something I think brand ambassadors also need to be able to tap into, is what is experiential.
Yeah.
And when you're recruiting somebody, like you say, is that these are kind of the things that I would be looking for,
Yes.
is to sort of, what does that mean to you?
Yes. Yeah.
And also, how do you experience working here?
Yes.
Or you're recruiting somebody into perhaps from the outside. Is what is your experience of working in the hospitality industry? What do you see it as?
Yeah.
Because if you don't come into it, I think with the right understanding, you can learn brand.
Yes.
You can learn anything about that. But
yes.
what do you perceive as the role
Yes.
of the industry in which you're going into?
Yeah.
Which I guess is the same for many
Yeah.
industries.
Yeah,
as well.
Totally.
well.
Yeah. Totally.
And we were talking about this earlier, about how people who care, that comes across in their body language, it comes across in what they say, how they say it,
Yeah.
whether they care about their industry, their customers, their clients.
Yeah.
When that comes across authentically, that's what makes a great
Yes.
ambassador.
I think you hit the nail on the head there with that word authentic.
Yes.
I think we need to think about authenticity as what does that feel like? What does
Yeah.
it look like? How does it come across? Because we can become very prescriptive.
Yes.
I mean, our industry has a lot of SOPs, standards
Yes.
operating procedures.
Yeah.
You're going to do it like this, you're going to do it like that. But how do you help somebody bring themselves
Yes.
into that particular interaction with somebody, rather than it just being, as we said, very prescriptive?
Yes.
That you can hear it.
That always reminds me, when I go to McDonald's, which I do occasionally go to McDonald's, and you go off their script, so they ask you the set questions, you go off their script because you want something a bit different.
Yeah.
They don't quite know how to handle it because they've got this prescription, and you never get the right order when they do that. We don't want that in our businesses.
No,
we don't want that for our clients.
No.
Because it doesn't make for a great experience.
No. And it's so easily detectable as well when we are being fake, we are being scripted. In obviously in the industry that we work within, that particularly within the financial services environment, having to be compliant. Many of our frontline, staff are heavily scripted from a compliant point of view. They need to be, but it's about recognising that actually, if you've got the right ingredients, within the individual, that then scripting actually it can become so very conversational. It doesn't need to. You don't need to sound robotic.
No.
Actually, if you have a genuine interest in what you are doing in representing your brand on the front line, if you firmly believe in the organisation and in the job that you do and in what you are there to do for your customer, then actually why would you sound scripted? Because you're being authentic.
Well, I'm going to show my age here, but do you remember the film When Harry Met Sally?
Yes.
And she's doing her sort of, how we said that, getting very passionate about her apple pie, and people, I want a piece of that. So I think a lot of it also comes down to how do we create the passion?
Yes.
I mean, to have a passionate brand ambassador is like almost sometimes like a pearl. But is there a possibility there to actually build that passion, build that fire, to create that, wow, I really, really, really connect with this brand? And is that because also, should we go back to that recruitment again? And are we recruiting for people who match our brand values? Or as we said earlier, are we just recruiting because we have to fill that space?
Yes, we have to fill that gap.
So how do we identify that passion?
Yes. So yes, I totally agree, Julian. I think that's why we all know about competency-based interviewing. It's a bit old hat now, isn't it? That of course you would be checking in that person has experienced those situations where needing to represent your brand on the front line. Tell me about a time when. But actually, those kind of life scenarios, getting them to talk about those life scenarios where the traits and qualities and attributes of a great brand ambassador, about being the real deal, about being positive, empathetic, energetic, conversational rather than just following that script. I think that's really important to be using in recruitment, in the interview process, to identify, do they have the traits? Are they asking about their personal values? Are they aligned with the brand values? I think that is quite easy to detect in the recruitment and selection process.
Because I think also there's another aspect of there, is it? They need to feel empowered.
Yes.
So I think when you're recruiting, to be able to get that spark, maybe it's working on that empowerment piece as well.
Yes.
That could be key. So we're talking about, we've done authenticity, we've done sort of maybe adaptability as well.
Yes.
Somebody who's flexible, who's able to perhaps think on their feet, who is communicating well.
Yes,
Would
definitely.
you say that as well as a good trait?
Definitely.
What other traits could we add to that list?
I think just we talked earlier about attitude is everything, and I think that that's also very easy to spot from the outset. Those typical qualities and traits and attributes that make up that PMA that everyone's always talking about. It's very easy to spot.
Yes.
Not just in how they look for sure, but actually what they're actually saying and how they're saying it can come across very quickly.
How they hold themselves in an interview. If you are recruiting for some specific role, how do they hold themselves? Most people are nervous in an interview, so you have to go beyond that and get them talking about topics and subjects that they care about.
Yes,
Then you'll see the real person coming through.
Yeah.
And that's so important, because that attitude piece, you can train most people to do most parts of a job.
Yes.
But the attitude that they bring to that is for me the deal breaker.
For sure. I mean, that old adage about recruit for will and train for skill, I think has never been more true than it is today, in today's competitive marketplace.
Yeah.
Great.
Wow, thank you so much, Marie, Adrianne and Julie. You've definitely given us all some food for thought there about what it takes to become a great brand ambassador on behalf of the organisations that we represent. Now, in episode 2, we'll be taking a look at the intrinsic link between employee experience and customer or guest experience, and the vital role that our brand ambassadors play in determining customer perception of our service, whether that service is in a face-to-face setting, over the phone, virtually, or even digitally online. So in the meantime, feel free to like, share, subscribe, or join our tribe. Marie's, Adrianne's and Julie's details can be found right here at the bottom of the screen. And we'll see you next week, same place, same time. Until then, take care, and remember to be that purple cow in your field. Bye for now.